You mentioned before in one of our previous conversations, one of the biggest challenges is overcoming skills gaps. Now, if a hiring manager has the perspective that there's an unlimited amount of candidates out there, they should be able to go through 35 interviews. They should feel privileged to be here, right? I'm kind of painting the end of the spectrum here, but sometimes there's a big gap in actually how many people we have to fill that. Or you've defined this rule so tightly, we're never going to be able to find that. You created your own skills gap. In the last part from our previous conversations, you were talking about how the candidate is actually interviewing us too. They're real people. So if you put all three of those together, is that a part of what you have to educate the hiring managers on too? It's like just the reality of the environment, the experience, like you said, that we need to create for that candidate.
Absolutely. So I think the first one that you mentioned was the skill gap, and it does exist. And I think we have to talk to hiring managers about that not every candidate that's going to walk in the door is going to be familiar with Outlook. For example, that may be something they've never touched before, not because they're a subpar candidate or they don't have amazing other talents and skills. That may be outdated for where they're at right now. They may have some other crazy way that they're used to emailing back and forth. It always humbles me when someone walks in and they try to touch the screen. And I'm like, no, there's a keyboard there. So sometimes there's just a difference in the way we do things. So whether it's a gap or maybe it's just a difference in that. So I think it's setting that expectation. Not everyone's going to come in. We don't do typing tests necessarily anymore. What do you actually need in the role versus what do you just think somebody needs? Like everyone says, oh, they need to be a multitasker. What does that mean? There's no science that says that exists. So it's about starting at the beginning and just letting them know, hey, you put in here that they need to be a multitasker. You put in here that they need to be proficient at this, and just walking them through each of their outlined skills and say, well, tell me how they're going to utilize this in the role. Tell me, is this a must have or is this a nice to have? And how do you see this as somebody being stellar at this versus somebody just being okay? Will they still have the same level of success? Is this a deal breaker? And really just questioning the hiring manager on the importance of the skill that they've laid out there. But then I think we also have to take ownership of the education system. They can't be responsible for teaching everybody everything anymore. Sometimes some of those skills have to be taught in the workplace. So from a hiring manager perspective, well, tell me about what your on the job training looks like. Are there other programs you have so people can grow their skills? Tell me what that looks like, because I may not be able to get you a plug and play ready candidate, but I can get you somebody on the cusp of amazing if you're willing to make an investment. So I think you have to set the stage for that as well, that some of these skills that you're asking for, they're not ready made. These have come through. I love it. It's an entry level position, 8 years of experience. Where in the world do you want an entry level candidate to get 8 years of experience? Help me understand, like, did they come out of the womb with it? I don't know. But it really is just about really walking them through what their expectations are. Why is it their expectations? I mean, you're kind of interviewing your hiring manager. Well, tell me why this is important and how would someone be successful in doing those things? I think that helps synergize some of that skill gap. It may not be a gap. It may be a bad expectation or, well, I don't know, it was on the job description, so I thought we had to do it. So it's pulling back those layers, but then also educating them. Things are different and you need to take ownership of that. And what do you bring to the table? To your last point, they're interviewing us. So we want to be able to sell to them that, hey, if you join this organization, they're doing on the job training. They offer growth programs. They have a rotational program, all of those different pieces. That's like music to the ear of many candidates because sometimes that's what they're looking for. An organization willing to invest in them for the long haul at that organization or so that they can grow. Maybe it's at a different organization, but any hiring manager should be proud if they start somebody here and they see their career progress. That's a compliment. Be proud of that.